The Fourth Wing. Oops. Hey guys, welcome back. Today I thought it'd be fun to talk about my all-time favorite reads and then also what I'm currently reading and some reviews on books I've read recently. So let's get started. So to preface, I really didn't start reading until around this time last year. So a lot of these I've read within the last year, and I've been heavily influenced by obviously Book Talk as well as some of my favorite book YouTubers. I've been following Haley Pham for years, like even before she started doing Book Talk and like BookTube and stuff like that. One thing about me is my rating system. I'm not very harsh on my ratings. Like if I liked a book and thoroughly enjoyed it, it's gonna get a 5 or a 4 stars. I'm not very picky about giving out 5 stars, and I honestly just don't care that much. If I like the book, I like the book. With that being said, we can get in. I have this super big stack of books to share. Yeah, so I'm gonna split it up kind of by genre, and then we'll just talk about them and the things I liked about them, and then we'll move on to what I've currently been reading, some ratings, and stuff like that. Starting out with fantasy, I didn't really start getting into fantasy until probably around winter break this year, and the first book on my list that I read was Caraval. It was the Caraval trilogy. It's kind of a good intro into like the fantasy realm. It's more magical, whimsical, not super intense fantasy, but honestly I loved them. It kind of pushed me into reading more fantasy, and I would recommend the whole trilogy. I have the other two up here, Legendary and Finale. Those are also like some of my favorite books, but if there's a series, I'm just gonna put one of the books and talk about it. So I would highly recommend, if you haven't gotten into fantasy, getting in by reading Caraval. Next up, I have Powerless by Lauren Roberts. I just recently read this. I really enjoyed it. It kind of gives like Hunger Games vibe-esque, and honestly, yeah, I really like it. I would recommend. It has romance, tension, action, another just solid romantasy choice. Next up is Lightlark and Nightbane. I have Nightbane back there. These are also just really good like action fantasies with romance. If you can't tell, it's kind of what the trend that I like, romantasy. Fourth Wing. A lot of people are very critical of Fourth Wing because of the writing. Personally, I really enjoyed it. I love the dragons and the action and the romance. It was just good. I ate it up. It's kind of a longer book, but it really didn't feel like it. And then Iron Flame as well. I didn't enjoy Iron Flame as much, but I still enjoyed it, and I'm excited for the series to continue. Again, I would recommend Fourth Wing if you haven't read much fantasy. I feel like, especially Fourth Wing in itself, it doesn't go too in-depth of world building. It does, but it's pretty easy to follow. Iron Flame, it gets a lot more into world building, and I feel like that's maybe why I didn't like it as much, because I didn't follow it as well. I also don't really like to look at the cover, like the maps on the books, and that would really help in Iron Flame. But yeah, Fourth Wing. Next up on my favorite reads is the Throne of Glass series. I'm just holding Kingdom of Ash here because this book was just perfection and a perfect ending to an amazing series. I read this all over winter break, so within the span of like a month I read the whole 8-book series. You really connect with all the characters and fall in love with them, and you're following their journey, and you feel like you go and grow with them throughout their journey, and it's so good. I had to take a break from fantasy after reading Throne of Glass because I felt like just nothing could match up to it. So I took a few month break off of reading fantasy, and honestly I'm glad I did, because I was able to kind of get over my Throne of Glass hangover and get back into fantasy. And yeah, I don't stop thinking about this series. It's just so good. Next, I'm going to talk about my favorite romance reads, so let's get into it. Starting off, Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter. I read this in a singular day. I was traveling a lot that day, and I read it in a singular day. It's just so lighthearted and it warms my heart. Like, I love romances that just make me feel good and giddy inside, and especially if you're not a person that likes kind of smutty romances. Lynn Painter's books, a lot of them do not have any smut, like this one does not, and honestly it's just so good. I would highly recommend Better Than the Movies. I want to read more of her books. This is the only one I've read so far, but I plan to definitely read more. So next up is Happy Place and Beach Read by Emily Henry. The stories, you just get so drawn into them, and I loved the characters, and honestly, I just love her books and her writing style. I didn't love Book Lovers as much as I liked these two, and I'm super excited to read her new one, Funny Story. I think it's coming out in like 2 weeks, which so excited for. I'm probably gonna go buy it at Barnes when it does come out. These are obviously very popular romances, so they live up to the hype. Next is Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood. Honestly, any book by Ali Hazelwood. I haven't read Bride yet, but her STEM romances, I eat them up every time. I honestly just love them. I think coming from a STEM girly like myself, that probably helps me like the stories a lot more. Granted, yeah, they kind of are, but I eat it up every time, and I honestly just love them. I would recommend them if you want just a quick, giddy romance that honestly are just great. Next up is Flawless by Elsie Silver. It's the first book in the Chestnut Springs series. I just finished the second one, Heartless. Loved it as well. I read it on my Kindle, so I don't have the physical copy, but I probably plan to get the physical copy because one, the books are really cute and I loved it so much, and I plan to continue reading the rest of the series throughout the summer because they're just the perfect romances, like a quick romance read to like break up fantasy and action and thriller books. They're just perfect, and yeah, enough said. They're just good romance reads. Now moving on to kind of thriller, action, mystery-esque. The first one is the Inheritance Game series. I loved it's, I think there's 4 books right now. They're coming out with the 5th. I have all of them. Again, I would recommend the whole series. Actually, I'd recommend the first 3 books. I didn't like the 4th book as much. I'm excited for the 5th book to see if she picks back up on like a better storyline, I guess. But I read this, like the trilogy, super quick. They're just really like action-packed. There's like a subplot of romance between the main character and like 2 of the brothers, and it's just really good. I loved all the puzzles and the games, and it was just super fun, super whimsical. This one's kind of like a romance, but kind of action thriller-esque. It's Assistant to the Villain. This was one of the first books I picked up after reading Throne of Glass, and I'm so glad I did because it's honestly such a quick read, and it's lighthearted, fun, easy to follow, and just like you get sucked into the plot line, and it's super good. And I like cheesy books and like cheesy TV shows, movies. I love them. This is a more like cheesy book. Same with like Better Than the Movies. But I personally like that. If you don't like that, I probably wouldn't recommend this. But to me, it was a quick read, lighthearted, fun, and I just thoroughly enjoyed it. The last one I'm going to talk about for this is All Good People Here by Ashley Flowers. If you don't know Ashley Flowers, she's the host of the Crime Junkie podcast, as well as her like producing company runs a lot of the true crime podcasts that are like super popular and that I listen to. But yeah, it was just a quick like thriller mystery read, and you're like following along with her, seeing if you can solve the crime along with her, and it was just honestly super good. I read it pretty quick. If you're kind of new to the thriller mystery realm, I would recommend this one. I really liked it. One thing for thrillers is I don't like when there's an unlikable main character. It just kind of ruins the book for me. So that's a little thing about me. Now moving on to some of the books that I've read recently. I got a Kindle for my birthday, which was like 2 weeks ago, so I've been reading a lot on my Kindle. So I'll tell you about some of the books that I've read. So the first book I read on my Kindle, it was Last Breath by Mary Stone. It was like a mystery thriller. It was okay, like it was a quick read. I read it. It's like an 8-book series, like following along the main character. I'm probably not going to continue the series, but it was a good just like intro to reading on my Kindle. Then like I said, I read Heartless by Elsie Silver. I devoured that book. I think I finished it in like a day. It was so good. 5-star read for me. I can't wait to continue the series. I also just finished, it's right here. I just finished last night A Door in the Dark. It's like a kind of a fantasy action with like a tad bit of romance. I hadn't heard about it. I saw it at Barnes & Noble's and it was on a table and I read the back and it sounded interesting, so I bought it. I give it 4 stars. This was kind of one of those where the main character kind of was unlikable, and I don't know, the beginning started out strong, but I felt like the middle was just kind of dragging on, and then the ending it like really picked back up. But it was a 4 stars. Like, I liked it. I think there's a second book. I'm probably not gonna read it, but I did enjoy it. Like, it was okay. Hi, Orzo. Orzo wants to come and say hi in the video. He was eating like a little sniffle mat while I was filming that, and I think he finished, so hopefully it doesn't bother the video too much. Oh, he picked the sniffle mat up. Okay. Anyways, so I've been reading The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. It's a classic, so it takes a lot more effort for me to like read and focus, but I'm like 11% the way through, so I just barely started. I just got Abby Jimenez Just for the Summer from Book of the Month in the mail, so I think I want to read the other 2 books, like Yours Truly and Part of Your World, because they're technically like within the same world and are a series, so I feel like I should read those before I read Just for the Summer. So I'm probably gonna read Yours Truly. I have it on my Kindle. I don't have Part of Your World on my Kindle. It's not on Kindle Unlimited, so I might have to go buy that book. I just found this book today on TikTok. It's called Glass by Evelyn Flood, and it's like a fairy tale Cinderella retelling, and then the little like snippet on TikTok that I saw sounded really good, so I might honestly start that as just a quick breakup while I read The Bell Jar. I'm probably gonna go back and forth between those 2 because I feel like The Bell Jar, I've heard like it's definitely more serious, so I'm probably gonna flip between those 2 and also read Yours Truly. Yeah, so those are my favorite reads and my current reads, and yeah, I look forward to the next book video. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe, and I hope to see you again.